Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. You see there, it's 12 o'clock on the East Coast, 9 o'clock out there on the West Coast. And thank you so much for watching from coast to coast, including, of course, the Central Time Zone, the Mountain Time Zone, and anywhere else that you're watching here on RSBN Live. Once again, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Today at 2 o'clock, the President and the First Lady will participate in an executive order signing. We're told from the White House that this executive order is fostering the future for American children and families that will modernize America's foster care system and empower young Americans transitioning out of foster care with greater tools, resources, and opportunities, all to promote lifelong independence and success. So that is in about 2 hours from now. We'll be here live throughout the afternoon until that point. A number of live interviews that we will be going to. And also, of course, meantime, last night, the president signed a bill to end the longest government shutdown in United States history. Of course, for the past 43 days, Democrats in Congress, of course, people like Chuck Schumer, shut down the government of the United States in an attempt to extort American taxpayers for hundreds of billions of dollars for illegal aliens. Let's listen in from the president just last night.
Over the past 7 weeks, the Democrats' shutdown has inflicted massive harm. They caused 20,000 flights to be canceled or delayed. They departed so many times, so late. People were hurt so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything like this one. This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid. And the total effect of the damage their antics caused will take weeks and probably months to really calculate accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country. I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again.
So the government is now open, thanks to the Republicans, and of course, thanks to a few of those Senate Democrats that wisened up. But maybe they were holding the people hostage when it comes to all of this for various reasons. Maybe it was the election in New York, New Jersey, Virginia, for people to get out the vote to say, look what the Republicans are doing, even though they're not the ones that did it. I don't know. Who knows what happened there? But we do know, of course, the government is open. And now it is Thursday, November 13th, 12:03 Eastern Time. We spoke with a number of great patriots recently, including onto West Virginia, Representative Riley Moore, for an update on the atrocities still taking place in Nigeria. Let's take a look at that interview right now. Joining us now is West Virginia Representative Riley Moore. Thank you again for joining us, sir.
Thanks for having me again.
Definitely. We know that you've been talking about Nigeria. We know that the president's been talking about it since we last spoke, and I know you've been around in the media. Is there any update out of Africa?
Well, I think as you know, and probably your audience knows, President Trump has designated Nigeria a country of particular concern, which is a huge win for all of us. This is what I've been asking for. This is the letter that I wrote to Secretary Rubio requesting this just over a month ago, and huge success in that regard. But on the ground right now, the killings have actually continued. In the last 24 hours, we've had roughly, the estimates are about 20 Christians were killed by Fulani herdsmen, and a church, at least one, if not several, destroyed. They're still kind of pulling people out of the rubble right now. So we're going to see what that looks like in totality, but the killings have continued. I will say that the posture of the government, at least the sounds and what I'm hearing out of them, have changed a little bit. And so there does seem to be a willingness to work with the United States government on this, and I hope that's the case. But the killings have continued. We need more than kind of nice words. We need actions from the Nigerian government.
And what kind of actions are we talking about here? What would be possibly on the table when it comes to what's happening there?
Well, we need the Nigerian government to prioritize the protection of these Christian communities, particularly in the context of the United States doing billions of dollars worth of security assistance, arms sales, train and equip over the years. Now, they've paid for good portions of this, but that was under the guarantee that they were going to protect Christian communities, which we've not seen that. With this designation of a country of particular concern, we can completely turn that off. There's 15 different levers that are now available to President Trump through sanctions, stopping aid, arms sales, training, equipping, freezing international financial institutions of transactions. There's a lot of things that we can do. So the president has maximized that leverage as well by statements that he's made of, if this continues, we are going to go guns a-blazing into that country. Obviously, President Trump's putting all options on the table. He won't restrict or restrain himself in any type of peace deal that he's looking to seek, which has worked successfully now 8 different times around the world.
Some of the feedback that you may have received on Capitol Hill from constituents or online, on X, I mean, what are people saying to you about what you kind of helped spearhead to get this thing done?
Well, obviously, my colleagues in the House that I've been speaking with, and I have a resolution condemning these killings and supporting what President Trump is doing and protecting our Christian brothers and sisters in Nigeria. We have a number of co-sponsors, close to 30 now, and we've had 60 different organizations come out and endorse that resolution. I think everybody is tired of watching this take place, this genocide that's going on in Nigeria. So in the House, I've had a lot of great support from all different factions and sides of the conference, which has been wonderful. Interestingly, Democrats have been pretty quiet on this, not outright rejecting it, but pretty quiet. So I'm hopeful that we'll get some of them at least see the light and hopefully do the right thing on this. From folks in Nigeria or people living in the United States who are originally from Nigeria or descendant of Nigerian immigrants, lot of support in that regard, but also from our religious institutions, whether Catholic, Protestant, what have you, a lot of support for this. They want to see this stop as well. They've been hearing this in their churches now for months, if not years, what's been going on in Nigeria and the persecution of Christians. So a lot of support from our great Christian churches all around the country.
It's awesome to see that and hear that from you, sir. Also, let's shift gears now. We know after 43 days of the government being shut down because of Chuck Schumer and others, your thoughts about finally fully funded and fully operational for the American people.
Well, it's a total victory for the American people, really, and also the Republican Party. I mean, we gave no ground in any of this, no concessions. And what we'd originally asked for was a short-term CR to finish the appropriations bills. That's what we were asking for initially. So we ended up right back there, and we got 3 appropriations bills done on top of that. So it's really a win-win. The Democrats got nothing out of this. And what we did discover through this terrible process that was holding the American people hostage for well over a month is that there are 8 Democrats, technically 7 Democrats, 1 independent in the Senate, who's willing to work with us and do the right thing. So we actually think we might be returning to regular order, which is not something that's happened in the appropriations process in many, many years. It was always omnibuses and CRs and time again. But we've got 3 of the 12 done. There's conversations in the Senate to do the next 4 of those bills. I mean, we're well on our way to actually returning to regular order, which I think is great for the American people, because there are cuts in almost every one of those appropriations bill. And if it's not a cut, it's flat funding.
And final question, sir, what is your 30,000-foot view assessment for the country right now moving forward? We're seeing people talk about a lot of different stories and things we should do, we shouldn't do. What say you, sir?
Well, the president has rightfully been defending his record and our record on trying to make life more affordable for the American people. And what I would say is the 30,000-foot view is you need to look at that in totality, right? Why are we doing tariffs? Why are we trying to onshore manufacturing and reshore it back here in the United States? cost of living. It's not just the price of material goods. Obviously, that's part of it. It's a big part of it, but also buying power. If we're creating jobs that are paying $8 an hour, that really is not getting done what the American people want. We want good paying jobs. And that's what these tariffs and reshoring of manufacturing and these jobs that we had sent overseas as part of this push in globalization, that's what we're trying to reverse in this and give the American people a better quality of life and better opportunity to be able to achieve the American dream. So it's all of that. It's the tariffs, it's job creation. It's also reducing the cost of goods in this country as well, which is happening. Look at egg prices, milk, gas, and some of these others. Those are falling. And the economy, and I think the Treasury Secretary just mentioned this here last couple of days, first half of next year, I think we're going to see massive job growth from the policies that have been put in place by Congress and President Trump.
West Virginia Representative Raleigh Moore, thank you again for spending the time with us and giving us that crucial update on Nigeria. Please, you're welcome anytime on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Always good to be on.
Thank you. Okay, of course, that was from just about an hour ago, recorded right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, we just aired that for you in its entirety. Anytime we have these interviews, if you miss a little bit of it, if you want to replay it later or just scrub back and check it out, then join us back here live. Whatever you'd like to do, of course. We're just glad you're with us as it's 12/11, Thursday, November 13th. Before we get to a new video from the White House, just posted literally within the past 3 minutes, let's go to some of our great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. As you guys know, we're heading into the holiday season, a time for family and travel and being together, but also the getting sick part, if it happens, obviously can really slow things down. So that's why All Family Pharmacy is actually, helping Americans stay ready this season with fast, affordable access to more than 300 trusted medications, including antibiotics, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and antivirals like Tamiflu. Having the right medications on hand means you can act fast when someone starts feeling sick. No scrambling for last-minute doctor visits or waiting in crowded pharmacies. So everything is done online. So you simply request what you need. A licensed U.S. doctor reviews your order, and approved medications ship straight to your door, usually within just a few days. So it's a practical way to be ready before the holiday season, and it gives you peace of mind knowing your family is covered. So you can skip the stress, stay healthy, and enjoy the holidays. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to save 10%. RSBN 10's that promo code. And of course, always consult a licensed healthcare provider before using any medication. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Every major financial disaster begins with a few simple facts that most people ignore. So in 2007, it was overextended credit, reckless lending, and misplaced faith that, quote unquote, everything will hold. Then it didn't. Banks failed, savings vanished, retirements were cut in half. The lesson was painful and unforgettable. So today, those same indicators are unfortunately returning. Auto loan defaults, they're rising. Commercial real estate, strained. Private credit has grown far beyond its limits, and now even Jamie Dimon, a man who understands money better than most, is warning that when you see one problem in the system, there are always others hiding behind it. They're not theories, they're patterns, and when patterns repeat, when people refuse to act. So for more than 25 years, Monetary Gold has guided Americans through every economic storm with that A+ Better Business Bureau rating. And one constant truth, real value endures when paper confidence fades. So you can study the evidence and act on reason. The number is right there on the screen. You get an info kit on gold, 888-617-7994, or rsbnforthegold.com. Let's go to callsheet.com as well, our third sponsor of the afternoon so far. callsheet.com/RSBN. Of course, you can download the app. You can go to the website, and there's a third way you can get access to all this. The QR code right there on your screen. If you're looking to bet or trade or just check out various polls, there's a ton of them on Call Sheet. There's more than 1 million people on this site, and that's growing. A lot of interesting topics people are talking about too. So go to callsheet.com/RSBN. It is 12/14, Thursday, November 13th. All right, so the White House just posted a new video about the government reopening. Let's take a look at that.
For the past 43 days, Democrats in Congress shut down the government of the United States in an attempt to extort American taxpayers. Republicans never wanted a shutdown and voted 15 times for a clean continuation of funding. The federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again. And it's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again.
All right. So according to the Speaker of the House on Capitol Hill, he was saying next week the House will vote on whether or not to release the Epstein files. So that's a story we're tracking. The White House saying, of course, as the president stated, the Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects, end quote. Democrats on the Oversight Committee, we're told from the White House, purposefully manipulated an email from the Epstein estate to redact relevant information that proves President Trump did nothing wrong. So we'll monitor any developments there. Once again, we know that the Speaker of the House will vote on whether or not to release those files. That's something happening next week, according to the Speaker of the House. Of course, we're also monitoring if there will be any more deep state indictments. We've seen a few here and there. A lot of people saying, well, where are those? Well, we're monitoring to see if that happens. As we know, President Trump said on the campaign trail that he would obliterate the deep state. He would dismantle the globalists, and we'll see how that kind of shapes out. We know President Trump said pretty recently at an event at the Oval Office that he thinks that we should be doing more when it comes to that. So we'll monitor that as well. So just like New York City, Seattle has fallen. Have you ever been to New York? Have you ever been to Seattle? I've been to both cities, and way up there in the Northwest definitely feels like a bubble up there. You're way up in the Northwest. And the same thing with New York. Indirectly, they're similar in the sense of kind of along the water, away from, a lot of people, not in the sense of Seattle is. But anyway, the point is Seattle has fallen to a socialist mayor who's being compared to Zoran Mamdani, having the same political ideology. I believe her name's Katie Wilson, and I believe she's the first Gen Z mayor in the country. But I do know, again, that she is leaning toward what Zoran is into. So now we have two cities that have officially fallen towards socialism/communism, which is awful for the people of those cities. And then I was thinking about other places. I was thinking about Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and a few others. Baltimore, Memphis, anywhere out there, really. And I was thinking that maybe they've already fallen too if we don't turn it around. We see that the National Guard's there. We get the crime aspect, President Trump and the team and the crew kicking ass out there. But the problem is we still have these people that love things like socialism, communism, and they love to be against the American people, the Constitution, God, family, country, freedom. So yeah, it's an interesting time, isn't it? It's a very interesting time to be alive and to be covering this kind of stuff. And for all of you that watch and the jobs that you guys have, or if you're in between jobs right now, the next job you have, or whatever situation you're in, or if you're retired, it's quite the time to see the direction of our country. We know on November 5th, 2024, that President Trump won his third straight election. We know what happened in 2020. And the evidence and receipts are all over the place now. We know what happened with J6, same thing, evidence and receipts. But now we see we're approaching the second year or the start of the second year of President Trump's term. We see a lot of wins, and we also see things that we want to be done. And that's not just me saying it. Of course, a lot of you have said it, whether it's on this program, whether it's on Truth Social, on X, whether it's in the comments section. So we'll see what happens. We'll monitor it. That's our job here in the media. We ask questions. We come from a common sense perspective. And if you're following me on Truth Social at Matthew Alvarez and on X, you'll know that I was talking about some basics today when it comes to conservative media. So let's review as we await the president and the first lady. That's happening at about 2 o'clock. We may have a changing of the guard here at Studio B. Robert McNeely will be in studio a bit later to bring us some coverage. But until then, we know that we'll be seeing that executive order at 2 o'clock. But let's talk about this whole thing called media. And a little segment. So Thomas Jefferson said, "Our liberty depends on the freedom of the press." And as you know, the fake news has failed we the people. So it's the who, what, where, when, why, and how is that general rule of thumb for common sense journalism. In my opinion, the why is the most important. It reveals why people do what they do, their motive, their agenda. Case in point, why did the Democrats create the government shutdown? They're the ones that did that. Why did they do it? We have plenty of answers for that. Inside baseball, not really at this point. They came to the Republicans. They had a list of demands. You shall pay the illegal immigrants their health insurance or their Medicare or their coverage, give them health insurance. You shall refund NPR and PBS. You shall, and the Republicans are like, hold on, guys, hold on. President Trump won the election. We, the people, voted for him. That's what we want. And you're coming against all of that. So we're not going to give in to those demands. And so it took 43 days for them to finally be like, okay, fine. Interesting, though, it happened after the election in New York City, Virginia, and New Jersey. After kind of a retirement from good old Nancy Pelosi. Who knows why they said, okay, fine. But anyway, back to the point. Why do the Democrats like open borders? Why do they, or why, all these whys. So you want to know why. And so as we know, information is power. It can be used to indoctrinate. It can be used to brainwash and sway public opinion, which equals bad choices and bad election results. The 1 million plus people in New York, think about it. I've lived there before. My family's from there, Brooklyn and Manhattan. My mom was born in Brooklyn, my dad in Manhattan. All right, so New York City, when you just look at that, hyper-local angle right now, even though we're a national broadcast and international as well. People have watched. I know there's some people watching in the UK, and I've seen people watching from all around the world. It's great. It's awesome to have that information being shared out there that's on the right side of history. Common sense, simple stuff, right? God, family, country, freedom. End of story. But the point is, with New York City, more than 1 million people voted for Zohran Mamdani. So there's a population of 8 million in all 5 boroughs. Why did those 1 point something million vote for Zohran? A lot of times we're seeing the indoctrination, brainwash, sway of public opinion, and then you go to the polls and you go, well, that's the one. I'm a sheeple. I do what the system tells me. I vote for this guy. Or maybe some people are actually that evil and they want the destruction of our country. I mean, that's the case sometimes. But a lot of this is really a brainwashing thing. And so it's so good to be on the outside of that and in conservative media. And for those of you that are on the right side of history, isn't it great to be aware? I mean, if you look at countries like Hungary and Poland, there's a ton of people there that are so happy to be free under 2 great leaders there. Viktor Orban, of course, just visited from Hungary to President Trump. We like what we see in El Salvador. We want the same here in this country forevermore until the return of Jesus, We want that freedom. And so anyway, so it's all about the institutions. We know it's about getting rid of the corruption from the institutions, whether it's in education, whether it's in media, whether it's in film, whether it's in politics. And that could be anything from the city council to the school board to whatever. I'm not saying every city council, I'm not saying every school board is corrupt, but we saw what it was like in 2020. I remember I was covering a story in 2020 when the parents, there were probably 150 parents in a mini little auditorium, probably 6 or 7 rows deep, just a little bit of an incline. And then there were the 3 or 4 people on the school board. And the people were there, the parents were there saying, we don't want our kids to be being forced to wear a mask. You can't have a kindergartner or a first grader, you can't force this on people. What are you doing? So we see what that's all been like. Before I complete this segment, we have to let you know, of course, about a few great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including angelpaste.com. RSBN is the promo code there. So a lot of great products, including the Miracle Cream. Use the RSBN promo code. You get quite the discount. That's out of Spring, Texas, of course. Great company, longtime sponsor here. They hire military veterans, and glad to have them here with Right Side. Also, covepure.com, another great sponsor, but another great product. Because if you like tap water, then you don't need to listen to this. But if you are looking for a filter that really takes 99.9% of the junk that's in the tap water out of your water, so when you drink it, there's no aftertaste, it tastes better, right? And it's healthier. This is for you. Drink pure, live pure. covepure.com/RSBN. You get $200 off when you use the RSBN promo code there. So covepure.com, live pure right there when it comes to drink pure, live pure, Cove Pure. All right, it is 12:25 Eastern time. Let's continue on with, if you've been staying with us with this segment, just talking about media and the conservative media 101 and mainstream media 101. And I know you guys know a lot of this information, but it's really good to encourage all of you that are not in media. That's citizen journalism. You have a phone, you might have X, you might have Truth Social, you might have Facebook, you might be out there like that. Or you text, or you talk on the phone, or you email, whatever communication you like, or maybe you use all of those. But to keep the narrative on the right side of history. And it's not even really like, hey, let's brainwash the masses on the right side of history. No, how about this? How about it's just common sense that we want truth and we want freedom in this country and we want the Constitution to be the law of the land. It's really all we want. And instead, we have a lot on the left where people are trying to control and take away our freedoms. That's what's going to happen in this country if we don't have the right person at that White House, if we don't have the right people in Congress. I've never actually said that before, but it's exactly what will happen. Why wouldn't it? We're in a different age right now. This is a different time. We've never seen our country so far right and so far left when it comes to this situation. Sure, you can look back on some other very huge historic events. I get that. But not in our lifetime. So true journalism, whether reported in conservative media or by you as a citizen journalist, is crucial to maintaining freedom in America. That reflects the comment from the great third president of our United States, the founding father, Thomas Jefferson, who said our liberty depends on the freedom of the press. Then there wasn't this, right? You didn't have all this going on. Now there's citizen journalism as well. So everybody, let's work together on the right side of history here. Not just saying it's us versus them. No, it's saying, hey, for those of you that are awake to what's going on, for those of you that are not the frogs that are inside that boiling water as it gets turned up slowly and we think, oh, everything's okay. And before you know it, you're boiling. We all jumped out of that pot quick. Man, you felt that water. You're like, oh, crap, I got to get out of here. The legacy media, oh, they're lying. I didn't know that. I thought I could trust them. Oh, that politician having that dog and pony show with the red tape, literally sometimes cutting a red tape. I've covered plenty of those stories, and I'm not talking about every politician, but we know that that's just the way it's been. So what's the answer? God, family, country, freedom. Working hard, praying hard, voting hard, and speaking and getting the information war, winning the information war on a constant basis. I mean, constant basis. Maybe I'm too focused into it sometimes. You know, I still have family and all that, but I will be straight up with you guys. Like, when I'm on here or online, whether it's True Social or X or right here on Right Side, I don't want to really waste any time. Sometimes you have to, kick it and enjoy life. Of course, on here, we talk about sports on occasion or the weather or whatever. But it's a serious matter that we're dealing with, as you guys know. So we just really want to win. We want to save our country. And we have a great opportunity right now for this to happen. Before January of 2026, when people like Abigail Spanberger and Jay Jones are in Virginia and sworn in there. Before Mayor Zamdani. I'll call him Zamdani because I feel like it today. So Zamdani. So January 1st of 2026 is when he'll be into office there in New York. But that's even before the midterm. So we have a lot ahead of us, as you guys know. So let's just finish up this part of it with saying the following. Conservative Journalism 101. Ask questions, report truth. When applicable, provide true context and common sense commentary. And those of you that are citizen journalists out there, if you think that you're not a journalist, I mean, it's not rocket science. Trust me, I'm not a rocket scientist. You may know after I repeat myself 25 times a day saying, it's God, family, country, and you're like, does this guy have anything else to say? Yeah, I do have other things to say. I'm not reading a prompter. Nobody's writing my scripts. This is just me every day here, just letting my heart out there, just to work to save the country the best I can. And yes, I've done interviews before, and you've seen me out there at the rallies and all that. You've seen Robert McNeely out there. You've seen all of us. We're just doing this for the right side of history. Anyway, but those of you that say, I work in construction, or I'm an office manager, or whatever industry, you can be a citizen journalist. Just speak up. You know how things can go viral on X and on Truth Social. We need the work of all of us together on the right side of history. Every single one of us that believe in the things that I keep repeating, God, family, country, freedom. All of us together, let's do this thing. It's not just a job, it's a great job. It's a great opportunity. And thanks to Joe Seals, and thanks to Right Side Broadcasting Network, and thanks to conservative media, that we're allowed to speak freely like this. This is freedom of speech at its essence. They don't tell me, hey, you shouldn't say, God, family, country so many times. They don't go there. That's called freedom. That's pretty awesome. Now, obviously, this is an op-ed, opinion editorial kind of section. We're, of course, waiting for the president and the first lady a bit later in the broadcast. But to wrap it up, fake news journalism 101. Are you ready? Lie, mislead, spread disinformation, confuse, and play TV. They lie, they mislead, they spread disinformation, confuse, and play TV. And not only do the left-wing mainstream media people do it. I don't know why I'm using a funny voice right now or whatever. But also the politicians, they work together. They're like, hey, let's pull one over on the people. Let's try and get more control. Let's try and do this. Let's try and do that. They won't know. Just tell them it's this. Just tell them it's that. Screw that crap, right? You know what I mean? Come on. It's time to be bold as a lion. The Bible says that, doesn't it? The righteous are as bold as a lion. Nobody is sinless. We're forgiven of our sin. Thank God for that, right? But we're working to live a holy life. We're working to live a life that is on the right side of history, no matter what ups and downs we deal with. Let's take a quick commercial break. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be back. I'll turn on the news mode in a second. We'll see you in just a few minutes.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
All allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
All right. Good afternoon once again, and welcome back to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We're looking forward to the event at 2 o'clock. Specifically, the President and the First Lady will participate in an executive order signing. The executive order called Fostering the Future for American Children and Families, we're told, will modernize America's foster care system and empower young Americans transitioning out of foster care with greater tools, resources, and opportunities to promote lifelong independence and success. So we know that that's happening at about 2 o'clock. So we have about an hour and change until that happens. We do have a couple live interviews coming up here in just a minute. Let's go to a couple sponsors as we await those interviews, as we kind of track some of the news stories that are going on out there. Of course, that government is open. Thankfully, we saw that last night right here on RSBN Live with Robert McNeely. Let's go to Venice AI. As you heard throughout the broadcast, of course, at the end of the day, ChatGPT, as in earlier this week, can now reference all your past conversations. So the question is, do you feel comfortable knowing an AI platform has access to your thoughts or your dreams or sensitive questions, business ideas, etc.? Well, the solution is right there with Venice AI. This is an absolutely, first of all, I feel like I'm working at a place like Apple when I say this, but the display is gorgeous, and it is. When you go to venice.ai/RSBN, gorgeous stuff. This is a place that you can go and you can trust because it's all encrypted. You're not going to, you have a lot of privacy when it comes to Venice.ai. And of course, there's a lot of different, AI opportunities out there when it comes to working with, personal assistant in a way. It's something that you can have with Venice here. So Venice utilizes these leading open source AI models to deliver text, code, and image generation to your web browser. There's no downloads, no installations of anything. They don't spy on you or censor the AI. Messages, again, are encrypted, and your conversation history is stored only in your browser. So, of course, AI can be extremely valuable, but we shouldn't need to give up our privacy to use it. I checked this out earlier. It is awesome and fast and very good stuff. So venice.ai/RSBN. You can download the app or just go to the website there. A great new sponsor here at Right Side. We'll be talking more about that in the coming days as well. Let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, a lot of great products there, including what you see right there, the early Black Friday special. 5-pack, $29.98. This is the Children's Bible Story Pillow. So looks like there's 5 of them there. So that's pretty cool. So mypillow.com/RSBN. Again, a lot of great products there. If you're looking for a couple cool gifts for Christmas time, this is a great spot to do that. Speaking of a great spot, RSBN. If you just text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, you can donate to Right Side as we continue to grow and expand here at the network. Since 2015, as you guys know, all of those rallies, all of those hours spent, even before President Trump, or in that case, the Vice President-elect spoke, we spoke to you and you spoke to us, and we have a connection with you guys. It's that real connection of we the people, of land of the free, home of the brave, all of the sayings, but we really believe in all that. And I know you guys do too, at least most of you that are watching. But thank you so much for watching. And if you'd like to donate, just text RSBN to 801-801. If you're not on the right side of history in the sense of you don't like RSBN or you don't like President Trump or the Constitution, we're still glad you're here with us. At the end of the day, what we're looking for is freedom. We want freedom to be the way of the future for this nation. We don't want our freedoms or our constitutional rights ever to be infringed upon. That's pretty much the crux of the matter. So just text RSBN to 801-801. Of course, last night, the president signed a bill to end the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. For the past 43 days, Democrats in Congress obviously shut down the government of the United States in an attempt to extort American taxpayers for hundreds of billions of dollars for illegal aliens. They also wanted to, again, refund fake news operations like National Public Radio. This is NPR. Let's have a report from the Capitol, And then they sound all nice and cool and chill. But not if you're giving us a bunch of crap, not if you're lying to us. Let's listen in from the president just last night as he signed that legislation opening the government of the United States of America.
Over the past 7 weeks, the Democrats' shutdown has inflicted massive harm. They caused 20,000 flights to be canceled or delayed. They departed so many times, so late. People were hurt so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything like this one. This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid. And the total effect of the damage their antics caused will take weeks and probably months to really calculate accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country. I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again.
All right, so you heard that here live right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network last night, of course, with Robert McNeely with that coverage. So looking forward to seeing the president and the first lady here at about 2 o'clock. If you caught our interview with the Judicial Watch attorney, Christina Bobb, yesterday, of course, a former Trump attorney and a great patriot, speaking very openly about what she wants to see done with the DOJ when it comes to any more deep state indictments. We'll have another live interview coming up in just a few minutes. If everybody's on time today, they'll join us and we'll take it from there. In the meantime, for those of you that have joined us within the past 20 to 30 minutes, let's go to an interview with the West Virginia Representative Riley Moore, who I spoke with a bit earlier this morning. Joining us now is West Virginia Representative Riley Moore. Thank you again for joining us, sir.
Thanks for having me again.
Definitely. We know that you've been talking about Nigeria. We know that the president's been talking about it since we last spoke, and I know you've been around in the media. Is there any update out of Africa?
Well, I think as you know, and probably your audience knows, President Trump has designated Nigeria a country of particular concern, which is a huge win for all of us. This is what I've been asking for. This is the letter that I wrote to Secretary Rubio requesting this just over a month ago, and huge success in that regard. But on the ground right now, the killings have actually continued. In the last 24 hours, we've had roughly, the estimates are about 20 Christians were killed by Fulani herdsmen, and a church, at least one, if not several, destroyed. They're still kind of pulling people out of the rubble right now. So we're going to see what that looks like in totality, but the killings have continued. I will say that the posture of the government, at least the sounds and what I'm hearing out of them, have changed a little bit. And so there does seem to be a willingness to work with the United States government on this, and I hope that's the case. But the killings have continued. We need more than kind of nice words. We need actions from the Nigerian government.
And what kind of actions are we talking about here? What would be possibly on the table when it comes to what's happening there?
Well, we need the Nigerian government to prioritize the protection of these Christian communities, particularly in the context of the United States doing billions of dollars worth of security assistance, arms sales, train and equip over the years. Now, they've paid for good portions of this, but that was under the guarantee that they were going to protect Christian communities, which we've not seen that. With this designation of a country of particular concern, we can completely turn that off. There's 15 different levers that are now available to President Trump through sanctions, stopping aid, arms sales, training, equipping, freezing in international financial institutions of transactions. There's a lot of things that we can do. So the president has maximized that leverage as well by statements that he's made of, if this continues, we are going to go guns a-blazing into that country. Obviously, President Trump's putting all options on the table. He won't restrict or restrain himself in any type of peace deal that he's looking to seek, which has worked successfully now 8 different times around the world.
Some of the feedback that you may have received on Capitol Hill from constituents or online, on X, I mean, what are people saying to you about what you kind of helped spearhead to get this thing done?
Well, obviously, my colleagues in the House that I've been speaking with, and I have a resolution condemning these killings and supporting what President Trump is doing and protecting our Christian brothers and sisters in Nigeria. We have a number of co-sponsors, close to 30 now, and we've had 60 different organizations come out and endorse that resolution. I think everybody is tired of watching this take place, this genocide that's going on in Nigeria. So in the House, I've had a lot of great support from all different factions and sides of the conference, which has been wonderful. Interestingly, Democrats have been pretty quiet on this, not outright rejecting it, but pretty quiet. So I'm hopeful that we'll get some of them at least see the light and hopefully do the right thing on this. From folks in Nigeria or people living in the United States who are originally from Nigeria or descendant of Nigerian immigrants, lot of support in that regard, but also from our religious institutions, whether Catholic, Protestant, what have you, a lot of support for this. They want to see this stop as well. They've been hearing this in their churches now for months, if not years, what's been going on in Nigeria and the persecution of Christians. So a lot of support from our great Christian churches all around the country.
It's awesome to see that and hear that from you, sir. Also, let's shift gears now. We know after 43 days of the government being shut down because of Chuck Schumer and others, your thoughts about finally fully funded and fully operational for the American people.
Well, it's a total victory for the American people, really, and also the Republican Party. I mean, we gave no ground in any of this, no concessions. And what we'd originally asked for was a short-term CR to finish the appropriations bills. That's what we were asking for initially. So we ended up right back there, and we got 3 appropriations bills done on top of that. So it's really a win-win. The Democrats got nothing out of this. And what we did discover through this terrible process that was holding the American people hostage for well over a month is that there are 8 Democrats, technically 7 Democrats, 1 independent in the Senate, who's willing to work with us and do the right thing. So we actually think we might be returning to regular order, which is not something that's happened in the appropriations process in many, many years. It was always omnibuses and CRs and time again. But we've got 3 of the 12 done. There's conversations in the Senate to do the next 4 of those bills. I mean, we're well on our way to actually returning to regular order, which I think is great for the American people because there are cuts in almost every one of those appropriations bill. And if it's not a cut, it's flat funding.
And final question, sir, what is your 30,000-foot view assessment for the country right now moving forward? We're seeing people talk about a lot of different stories and things we should do, we shouldn't do. What say you, sir?
Well, the president has rightfully been defending his record and our record on trying to make life more affordable for the American people. And what I would say is the 30,000-foot view is you need to look at that in totality, right? Why are we doing tariffs? Why are we trying to onshore manufacturing and reshore it back here in the United States? Cost of living, it's not just the price of material goods. Obviously, that's part of it. It's a big part of it, but also buying power. If we're creating jobs that are paying $8 an hour, that really is not getting done what the American people want. We want good paying jobs. And that's what these tariffs and reshoring of manufacturing and these jobs that we had sent overseas as part of this push in globalization, that's what we're trying to reverse in this and give the American people a better quality of life and better opportunity to be able to achieve the American dream. So it's all of that. It's the tariffs, it's job creation. It's also reducing the cost of goods in this country as well, which is happening. Look at egg prices, milk, gas, and some of these others. Those are falling. And the economy, and I think the Treasury Secretary just mentioned this here last couple of days, first half of next year, I think we're going to see massive job growth from the policies that have been put in place by Congress and President Trump.
West Virginia Representative Raleigh Moore, thank you again for spending the time with us and giving us that crucial update on Nigeria. Please, you're welcome anytime on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Always good to be on.
Thank you. All right, so it's 12:49 Eastern time, awaiting the president and the first lady in just a minute there at the White House. And when I say just a minute, that's a loose term there because it's still about an hour and 11 minutes out. We'll be here for it in its entirety. And of course, we have a couple live interviews coming up here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we continue to monitor the news of the day, the 24/7 news cycle, which has been heated up since, 2015? When President Trump came down those golden escalators. But a lot going on out there in the world. Before we move on with our broadcast, let's take a quick commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. We have two interviews coming up back-to-back here on the network. Before we get to that, let's go to one of our great sponsors, All Family Pharmacy. As you just saw there with Robert McNeely, we're heading off, obviously, into the holiday season, a time for family, travel, and being together, but also the getting sick part. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it does, it could really slow things down. That's why All Family Pharmacy is helping Americans stay ready this season with fast, affordable access to more than 300 trusted medications, including antibiotics, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antivirals like Tamiflu. And having the right medications on hand means you can act fast when someone starts feeling sick, no scrambling for last-minute doctor visits or waiting in crowded pharmacies. So everything's done online, and you request what you need. A licensed U.S. doctor reviews your order, and approved medications ship straight to your door, usually within a few days. So it's a practical way to be ready before the holiday season, and it gives you peace of mind knowing your family is covered. So you can skip the stress, stay healthy, and enjoy the holidays. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Of course, always consult a licensed healthcare provider before using any medication. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Joining us now is a former Green Beret, a lawyer, and a government insider, Ivan Ranklin. So, Ivan, tell us, what have you been up to in D.C. today, man?
Oh, just earlier today, I went and visited the Washington field office of the FBI. Last time I was there during Halloween, doing a little trick-or-treating as I tried to shine a little bit of light on one of the two agents that was below the signature block of the 4 of the subpoenas that were against me that Jack Smith originated by targeting 4 of the fundraising committees of Donald Trump, listing my name and the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers to see if they had any communications with us. And one of those names was Jeremy Desor, who had still been employed at that time. Luckily, on that following morning, Kash Patel decided to go ahead and launch him like we'll call him a booger, okay? And so he was fired. And unfortunately, Judge Janine was actually pushing back against that firing, but Kash Patel stood his ground. And last I heard is that this Jeremy Desor, along with Mr. Giardina, special agent, are both gone, along with Jack Smith and his deputy or assistant, Miss Bento. And the only one remaining, as far as I know, is the clerk at that U.S. district, the federal district court in D.C., Miss Caesar, who also participated in the violation of my Fourth Amendment, all the Proud Boys, all the Oath Keepers, and probably if you were to look at all the rest of the 197 subpoenas, probably to include the Fourth Amendments of all these senators that are paying themselves $500,000 for their legal fees to go after Jack Smith. I'd like to see $500,000 myself for each of the 4 subpoenas that I received, but I doubt that that's going to happen.
Exactly. I mean, yesterday we had Christina Bobb on the air as well, and she was talking about some of these.
I saw that.
Yeah, some of these stories, and you have right now more than 250,000 followers on X. It's growing steadily. The followers that are verified are some pretty big names out there. But that aside, why do you do what you do every day?
I would say, I mean, I had a pinned video on my Twitter going back to February 2023, and I was asked that at a joint session in Arizona when I testified before the Arizona State Senate and the State House joint session on elections. And they asked me, why are you doing this? And I said, at the end of the day, it's communism is already in our doorstep, right? In New York City and California. And my parents fled the Soviet Union in the 70s to come to the United States. And unlike them, I don't have an opportunity to go somewhere else. And number two, when you're given the option of fight or flight, flight is never an option. So if they're going to come at my doorstep, guaranteed you that at a minimum, one of us is not coming out alive if they're going to push to that level.
So the 2020 election, we know it was rigged. The evidence is everywhere. The same thing with evidence and receipts with J6. Your thoughts just about those two events in our history of our country?
Yeah, so 2020 was the cover-up to the previous cover-up. That started off, you got to remember that 2014 was when the auto pen started to sign off on pardons. The initial transgression during our current political arc started with that illegal pay-for-play scheme of the Biden criminal syndicate for the 10% for the big guy when they installed the crack baby son, Hunter, as a member of the board on Burisma. A lot of people don't know this, but I was serving on the Ukraine crisis team in the Pentagon in 2014 when this was all going on, when Russia incursion into eastern Ukraine. And then from that, you saw some of the meetings that were being held by John Brennan, Joe Biden, and then subsequently Hunter Biden. So when that criminality began, they had to pardon that. But every single action by the, quote, proverbial deep state, who I outlined to the tune of 1,500 individuals and their staff, all their actions are in order to cover up for the initial transgression that John Brennan was a part of, right? The 2014 pay-for-play criminality in Ukraine that then escalated into going after and spying on the Trump campaign to block them from being able to uncover this illegal behavior. And then since then, the 2016 illegal spying on the campaign, the 2017 probe, the Mueller probe into 2018. And then in 2019, we saw the Russia hoax. Again, this is all to cover up that previous cover up, right? And it's an escalatory cover up. And then 2020 rolls around. You had to inject the COVID pandemic op in order to be able to have 39 state non-legislative actors run their elections unlawfully, unconstitutionally, not according to the election law of the state, not according to federal Constitution's Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2. And thus you had a complete, wholeheartedly illegitimate election. Not in just the 6 contested states. In 39 of the 50 states, they ran it illegitimately. And so then it ushered in that next escalatory cover-up known as the Fedsurrection of January 6th. And then there was a committee created in order to cover up that Fedsurrection. And again, I'm not going to bend a knee on anything, and I haven't. And so it's my responsibility and obligation. I mean, with my background as a retired Green Beret, lawyer, served in intelligence. It's my obligation to call out everybody for violating my Constitution. And that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years. And a lot of folks on both sides of the aisle do not appreciate that. I shouldn't say it that way. They don't like it. They appreciate it in the terms of they acknowledge it. And many actually fear me because at the end of the day, I will confront these individuals in person, calling them out, whether it's Chris Ray Epps, whether it's Merrick Garland, whether it's Ali Mayorkas, whether it's Mike Pence, whether it's, I mean, you name it, Republican and Democrat. If you participated in the treasonous conspiracy of the last 11 years, which I've laid out on my Substack ad nauseum in detail and by subcategory, I'm going to expose you. And luckily, I have an audience, like you said, of almost 250,000, and sometimes that escalates into tens of millions of views. That is my protection, is the American people allow me to expose the corruption, and thus those corrupt actors have to respond or at least somewhat slow down their corruption. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It does. And also, shifting now to the campaign trail, President Trump said he would dismantle the deep state, obliterate the globalists. What's your take on the progress right now when it comes to the DOJ, the FBI, and that happening?
So let's stick to the facts. Not a single person's been arrested. Those that have been indicted are still able to go onto their favorite device and phone and whatever else to continue to treason. I'm talking about James Homie Comey, right? He's out there free to continue treasoning and continue to control and manipulate the Washington field office and FBI. Because a lot of people forget to ask this question. How many people that are currently employed by Kash Patel and Dan Bongino at FBI headquarters and at the Washington field office and all the other 56 field offices throughout the FBI, how many are still loyal to James Comey and Chris Ray? That's probably over 50%, right? Would be my guess. Maybe even closer to 90%. And then it begs the other question of DOJ. How many are loyal to Rod Rosenstein on the Republican side, Sally Yates and Eric Holder on the Democrat side? I would suspect it's the same number. And I got to close with this because I got to do another interview that I'm obligated to. The one person that everyone needs to look at, it's not only Todd Blanche. Todd Blanche has only been there a little bit, right? It is the person that served for 18 years as effectively the comptroller at the DOJ that decides on what money gets allocated where and who gets hired and fired at the DOJ. That name is Jolene Ann Lauria, Lauria. When everyone starts to scrutinize her movements and all of her decisions, I suspect that Mr. President Trump will probably want that person removed. But we need to shine a light on her.
And this is what you just did right now. Ivan Raiklin, thank you so much for spending the time with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thank you again.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
You too. Yeah, definitely. All right, 1:02 Eastern Time, Thursday, November 13th. We have one more live interview to get to, and we'll go to Kate Monroe here in just a second. Then we'll have a little bit of a changing of the guard. Robert McNeely will be in studio, and he'll bring you to that executive order signing at 2 o'clock. So as soon as Kate hops on the line there, we'll go to her live. In the meantime, again, 1:02 Eastern Time. Thanks so much for streaming in. We started just about an hour ago here on the network. A lot of news, of course, to go over and talk about. Ivan Raiklin on there with that, more than 250,000 on X. That's growing. I mean, at the end of the day, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. We have conservative media and we have citizen journalists that are out there, regardless of background, a Green Beret, lawyer, that kind of thing. It doesn't matter, really. What matters is we, the people, and what matters is the government working for us, and what matters is the promises made, promises kept by President Trump and the team. So that's what we're monitoring here at Right Side, and we'll continue to do that, and then hopefully that continues as well in conservative media as a whole, which we see that happening a lot as well. So 1:03 Eastern Time. Let's go to a couple of our great sponsors, and then we'll be able to go to Kate Monroe. Let's go to Monetary Gold right there. As you see on your screen, every major financial disaster begins with a few simple facts that unfortunately most people ignore. It was in 2007, it was all over the extended credit, reckless lending, and misplaced faith that, quote unquote, everything will hold. Then it didn't. Banks failed, savings vanished, retirements were cut in half. The lesson was painful and unforgettable. Today, those same indicators are returning. So auto loan defaults are rising, commercial real estate is strained, private credit has grown far beyond its limits, and now even Jamie Dimon, a man who understands money pretty well and better than most, is warning that when you see one problem in the system, there are always others hiding behind it. So they're not theories, they're patterns, and patterns repeat when people refuse to act. So for more than 25 years, Monetary Gold has guided Americans through every economic storm with an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating and one constant truth: real value endures when paper confidence fades. So you can study the evidence and act on reason there. Call 888-617-7994 or go to rsbnforthegold.com. Great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Director, can you please repeat? Okay, callshe.com /RSBN as well. More than 1 million users on Callshe, and you can use that QR code. You can download the app. If you're looking to bet, trade, or just check out various polls, whether it's about weather, science, technology, sports, politics, music, whatever really, it's all there. And there's more than 1 million users already on the site, and that is continuing to grow as well. So great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, callshe.com /RSBN. All right, it's 1:05 Eastern Time. Let's go now to a military veteran and author of the book Race to Save America, a former California congressional candidate and CEO of VetComs, Kate Monroe. Kate, thanks again for joining us here on Right Side.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Your thoughts right now? We have an open government, thank God in heaven, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see it back open. I know it was certainly scaring veterans. Even though they were getting paid, they're in constant fear of what the government's going to do with their money. So I'm glad to have that back open. And a lot of people don't know this, but many active duty military families live off of SNAP. So it was very scary for the people that I serve, that I care about the most. And so I'm glad to see it back open. But I don't know what was accomplished on the left, really, other than that they totally had to bend the knee, get nothing of what they wanted, and the Republicans completely spanked their butts. I love that for us. That was great.
Yeah, no, it was a great victory. We saw that, of course, right here on Right Side last night from the Oval Office. Not usually that we get to see the president at 9:45 at night from the Oval Office, but happened yesterday. Let's shift now to New York and Seattle. So apparently Seattle now has a mayor that is like a Zohran Mamdani in the sense of a socialist, communist type. Your reaction?
I think it's scary what's going on, but it's not really that surprising. I've been to all these cities doing homeless walks, trying to find veterans, and it never surprises me. When you go somewhere deep blue, it's almost like they live inside of a little dome where they don't really realize what's going on in the rest of the nation, or they're totally unaware of how bad it's gotten inside of their little terrarium. And it's almost like it just breeds more insanity. Go somewhere like Portland, like Portland is absolutely off its rocker. Go somewhere like Chicago. And it's almost like they want more crime. They want more control. They want more government, oddly. And so it's a sad state of affairs for them, but please don't bring it to San Diego. I mean, we already have enough problems of our own. Please, dear God, can we not have full, socialism and communism here?
Yeah, I mean, San Diego is one of my favorite cities in California. I've been to LA, San Francisco, and others, Fresno, all these towns there, Temecula. I mean, so many places. San Diego, they call it America's finest city. I still think it's very fine. It's beautiful out there. Yeah. But yeah, to your point, it must be horrible to have a California state government looking into that town.
Well, when I first moved to San Diego, it was a lot more, at least purple. It was a lot more red even in certain areas. And I've always said in San Diego, if active duty military personnel, veterans and the Christians would go and vote, it would be red here. But we don't, for whatever reason. We do a lot of talk and we don't mobilize. And that's a very sad state of affairs because I think a lot of people think, well, my vote doesn't count. Well, who's that good for if you believe that? Who made that up that your vote doesn't count? I think that we need to go, hey, I could probably just vote. I could do that bare minimum thing. So if those three bodies of people would vote, we could have overturned the election. It would be red here in San Diego and possibly red throughout the entire of California. So I would say in this next season, get off your butts and go vote.
Yeah, got to vote. And let's talk about securing our elections. Voter identification, paper ballots, same-day voting, all the things. Obviously, that's something that you support fully.
Yeah, that would be common sense. That would be crazy for us to do the thing that makes the most sense. I think it should just be the same all across the nation. Why we don't want voter ID is beyond me. There's only one party that doesn't want voter ID, And you have to think, well, why would you not want people to be able to show who they are? Oh yeah, because they're not allowed to vote. There is no other reason to do it other than you just want to shove in as many fake or illegal votes as you can. And I just am about to put something out that I think that in California, most of our elections are totally rigged. If you look at the way our ballots sit, a lady actually showed slide a ballot in, and if you vote no on something, like you vote leaning to the right, it pops that little hole there. I think they just take them and chuck them in the trash. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs. I think if we could just make it simple and easy, full of common sense, maybe then we could see what the will of the people really is.
Exactly. And speaking of people, let's talk about people maybe in your network or friends or family in general. What is everybody saying to you? Do they have concerns about the country right now? Obviously, Seattle and New York and other places, Chicago and all that. But overall, what's your assessment from what you've learned from your network?
Well, I think my network seems to be a little bit more plugged in. So they are concerned. They're looking around going, everybody's sleeping on it, thinking, well, I don't live there. That's not my state. That's not my city. I don't need to worry about it. Well, one city begets another. And ideologically, people move around a lot now, trying to get away from their horrible city, bringing their horribleness to this new city. And it doesn't take long for it to sweep. But I would say the whole of the nation isn't as concerned as they should be, because, again, they're just thinking about, it doesn't affect me. It does affect you. It absolutely does affect you. In a single generation, we could be overtaken by ideology from foreign soil if we don't step up and do the right thing and at least go and vote.
Thank you so much for your service to our country. Thank you so much, Kate Monroe, for joining us today. I hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kate. Awesome to talk to great patriots like Kate Monroe, a military veteran, author of Race to Save America, former congressional candidate out there in California. So, yeah, a lot of interviews, a lot of news going on, of course. Let's go to a changing of the guard. Robert McNeely will be in studio. Let's go right after this commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks for watching. We'll see Robert in just a second.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network as we bring you the latest from the White House. In the federal city, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump to participate in an executive order signing at 2 o'clock Eastern, roughly 45 minutes from now. I'm Robert McNeely, always a joy to be with you as we break down what's going on inside and outside of the Beltway. Thank you very much to our sponsors, All Family Pharmacy. You can go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, code RSBN10. You're used to that if you're watching regularly. for over 300 medications that can literally save your life, from ivermectin to mebendazole, NAD+, methylene blue, also Tamiflu. So important this time of year during cold and flu season. Also that very small strain and weak strain of COVID, but it still exists 5 years after the pandemic. So don't let a cold ruin the holidays for you. Prepare now. Scan the QR code there as President Trump and HHS, as well as this online pharmacy, leading the way for most favored nation status, for the right to try, and for cost-effective generics that big pharmaceuticals may not want to provide, like the aforementioned medications that are antivirals, antibacterial, and emergency medical kits. You can also take on the road with you as you enjoy college football and the fall foliage that is eclipsing all of this great nation of ours, including these wonderful solar storms we're having. So pretty beautiful to watch all of that. Don't let a cold get in the way of your fall celebrations. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. It's your go-to, as well as angelpaste.com. Also great for this time of year as the temperatures drop and that dry air moves on in. It's fantastic to have. I use this every day. The Vitamin B Original Miracle Cream. That is non-GMO, no chemical. Also the orange option infused with vitamin C. Really fantastic ways to keep yourself healthy and vibrant, glowing during the fall season and year-round. They're Christian-owned. They hire veterans. They are based out of Spring, Texas, off of the Gulf of America. It's angelpaste.com, and they are wonderful people. So give them a try today and see their products at the miracle that is angelpaste.com. Covepure.com as well. It's covepure.com/RSBN for $200 off. All three of these sponsors. Great for your health, especially gut health, with a machine that's no larger than your coffee maker on your kitchen counter. If you looked at JAMA Pediatrics, they did a study recently that children or students drinking out of the tap will lose 2 points or more in their IQ if they continue to do so. It's really an alarming rate, considering that COVID had all these learning loss and violations that happened with schools shut down over the course of the last few years. Also, remember Flint, Michigan, the lead poisoning in the pipes? Democrat infrastructure has its toll, and you really need something that will clear out the poisons, from fluoride to agricultural runoff to hormone-disrupting blockers like birth control. The water filtration systems, the treatment centers don't get everything out. But Clearwave Technology, leading this reverse osmosis system at covepure.com/RSBN, leading the way. And government's paying attention. Secretary Kennedy has devoted himself to making America healthy again all through his legal career. He's working with countless governors, both Republican and Democrat, and Utah and Florida. Governor Spencer Cox and Governor Ron DeSantis also backing legislation passed in their states to remove fluoride and pesticides out of the water. Get ahead of all of this by drinking pure, living pure at covepure.com/RSBN. $200 off this life-saving, literally, water filtration reverse osmosis system. I had the opportunity to speak with our dear friend Jim Paff, president of the Conservative Caucus, just 2 days ago. So this is prior to the ending of the 43-day shutdown, as you saw last night on RSBN Primetime. But we dove into a plethora of issues facing the United States of America. And here is Jim from just the other day. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. It is Mr. Jim Paff of the Conservative Caucus. So much happening now this week that we seem to be coming to an end with this government shutdown. Of course, some revisions on the Senate side, which we'll see over in the House. But House Speaker Mike Johnson notifying Congresswoman Ana Paulina Luna of the Free Sunshine State of Florida the fact that this whole idea of congressional budgets and insider trading, all of that might come up in committees, which is, I think, very popular for both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that there must be a way for the American people to more accurately assess what these people are doing. And I think that it is about time, because of the amount of abuse that has been revealed, and not all of which we have seen. You know, I used to, when I worked on Capitol Hill, have to report a lot about my finances. I was being a chief of staff. When you get at a certain pay range, you need to do that. I used to fill out the same reports that existed prior to the Stock Act. After the Stock Act, we saw much more detailed information about what members were doing. But the reality is, I'm not even sure we know exactly what's been going on. So, but we do know that people have been getting rich off of insider information. And what it does, by the way, as well, so it should be restricted, and I agree with the effort. But what we should understand is that, more importantly than just to see the things that members have been doing, we need to understand that the very existence of what Congress does in this day and age is so consequential to our lives that these people can make these kind of bets on the stock market with insider information. We really need to reduce the scope and size of government. It's way out of bounds right now. And if we did, we wouldn't even have a need for these laws. The very fact that these people legislate so deeply in our lives is really the bigger problem that I think all of this reveals.
Jim, that's such a good point, because I was watching an ad earlier today from 1992 on the Clinton-Gore campaign, and they said, we're new Democrats. We're not like the Democrats of the past of the welfare for everyone, and you'll actually have to get up and get a job if you're able-bodied. And to your point, it seems as if we have too much of the population now who they're too tied to the government, and it's because of that, these big government programs that seem to take control of our lives.
It's true. I mean, just look at the food that you purchase at the store. Look on the back of that, of the label. And even though I totally agree with disclosure laws that show, percentages of certain areas of your diet and so forth that are there, but look at the disclaimers. Like, people can make a decision on what they think is good for them or not, as long as they have information. So you've got both sides of it there. You've got the regulation of all the potential problems that could exist, but then you have the general information of how this will affect your diet. The latter part is very, very useful. But even go beyond that. We actually had the federal government, just during the Obama administration, through the waters of the U.S. regulation, want to literally regulate your property if you had an intermittent puddle that would form on your land. And I'm not exaggerating to say that. So this is the kind of absurdity that we really need to deal with in what Congress does. Every member of Congress should be required to report what Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution means. Like, I would like there to be a test for them to have to, take that in and then report on what it means. It would really help a whole lot to pare back this federal government, which goes well beyond that limited scope the founders meant to put upon what Congress could act and do.
And we've discussed before the use of CRs really being something that changed in the late 90s to the present day. So if this ends up getting through, which it looks like is happening, we'll fund the government really through January of 2026, and then we can end up in the very exact same situation. So what's your take on this, Jim? Because we're playing some 4D chess here. I think the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, Republican leadership really navigated these very thin waters extraordinarily well, because they don't have that many more in the majority. And even with the Senate, you're looking at 53 to 45 with two independents who are caucusing with the Democrats. So do you think that ultimately it was Minority Leader Chuck Schumer who caved on this, and voters will have a backlash from his base come 2026? Or is it like what Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is talking about, affordability? Because that came out of the exit polls in New York and New Jersey and Virginia. The irony is that those programs there probably will make things even more expensive in that region of the country. But who will come out on top here in this ever-going battle with people that can't speak to one another on either side?
Well, there's a whole lot there, before I get to Schumer and the affordability issue, keep in mind that only a certain aspect of the government will run all the way through the fiscal year. There's a whole big part of it that will come up by January 30th, and we will be back here again. And that's where the Chuck Schumer thing becomes very important, because he actually got caught between a rock and a hard place. He had a group of senators that were willing to break from him and say, no, we're going to go ahead and move on this. Now, by the way, Schumer probably wanted to do that too. He just gave them a free pass because he's looking down the face of an AOC primary challenge taking place next year that or I think actually it's in 4 years, that he's likely to lose. He's probably going to lose his leadership position by 2027 after the new Congress comes in. So he's been playing the political game to try to save his seat. And that's part of the crassness of all that we deal with. It's politics, though. That's one thing that happens. But I will say this. There's no doubt that a key component of what happened Tuesday of last week in the elections is that affordability was an issue. And the reaction to Mamdani in New York shows that the concerns that Americans have about affordability don't necessarily line up with the best policy to deal with it. They just want it to be affordable, and they want someone to do something about it. And in New York, where there's a more leftist bent, they're willing to allow communists to try out things because they're just very frustrated. And we need to keep that in mind with Democrats all across the country, because now Donald Trump, after all this, needs to focus all of his attention on the economy. The economic wins are the wins that he needs to be getting. He's already won worldwide. I mean, other than the Ukraine situation, which is a little bit on the back burner at present, he's really done some amazing things all around the world. He has straightened up the economic order when it comes to trade. Now we need to straighten up the economic order here in the United States. So what are the big steps that need to happen? First of all, he needs to get a fantastic Fed chairman. And that appointment's going to be coming within weeks because Jerome Powell's term is up in the spring. So he has already said he's going to announce that early. You get someone in there that is devoted to radical free market policy. I mean, we need to get rid of the Federal Reserve. But while it exists, we need someone in there that says, we're not going to allow these people to rig the system the way they do. We're going to set things right. That could actually help out a whole lot just in the mood of things. The next thing that needs to happen is he needs to go beyond one success, which is reduction in gas prices. That reduction in gas prices that has been taking place is an incredible positive to people's checkbooks, their pocketbooks, because the national average was above $4 at its peak during the Joe Biden administration. Now we're below $3 and starting to get significantly below it. And during the Biden administration, we hardly ever had that sort. In fact, it was only in the beginning. So that's a good sign as well, too. But so many other prices on the grocery end of things, that needs to be addressed. And I don't think tariffs are the big problem with prices right now. Inflation is always a problem with the Federal Reserve. It's not a problem with trade policy. Trade policy can affect prices in certain industries. It does not have any direct effect on inflation in general. That's the printing of money out of the Federal Reserve. So keep working on the economic policy that can help industries do better, and then have the Federal Reserve get its house in order so we can start bringing inflation down. And you get those wins and they start coming before November, you can see Republicans have a strong showing in the 2026 elections. And some of that's going to come because of the investment that's already begun too. So that's working its way through the economy too. But that focus needs to be there.
Secretary Besson saying that recently, that in quarter two of 2026, you could see a real cost-effective number of things going down so that affordability really is on the table. But until that point, I think you're spot on, Jim, when it comes to the Federal Reserve, because I think that's the one issue there, the cherry on top, if you will, that almost no one else is talking about over the media landscape. President Trump, when he went to visit too late Jerome Powell at the construction of the site, mentioned that some replacements could be people like Governor Ron DeSantis or Senator Tim Scott or even Secretary Kristi Noem. He said there's one problem. They're all doing their jobs very well and they love their jobs. So do you see a sort of out-of-the-box nomination coming from the president?
Well, hopefully it's none of those people. I mean, I like all those people to certain degrees, but none of them would make very good Fed chairman. Maybe Ron DeSantis, possibly. But what you need to look at is people like Scott Bessent and, I just forgot his name, the Council of Economic Advisors head. There are people in the Trump administration right now who could do that very well. And so I look for someone who some people don't know a lot about right now, but have been exposed to, who are really good economic minds. That would make a big difference, because then the real important thing is not how well they're known now, but their capability of running the Fed, which will play itself out over a number of weeks as the nomination starts to roll its way, will get presented to the Senate and then roll its way through the Senate. You're going to have someone who is really, he has a lot of good choices of people who are really capable and competent. And I look forward to it, because it is going to help people get a different mindset. And you have to have a combination of solid economic policy that works the way that economics works in reality, and then the hopefulness that can come from someone who's going to have an agenda to fix that system. The first thing to do is to get interest rates in the right order. I don't want to go back to zero interest rates, but we've got reductions that need to happen. That person needs to be dedicated to that. Secondarily, though, and maybe longer term, there's going to be a need to fix our money. And remember, that was a challenge that Paul Volcker faced going into the Reagan administration. There is some reckoning that is going to have to come with the Federal Reserve in the next 4 to 6 years to try to get our money supply fixed, because we jumped it up in such a dramatic fashion just right after COVID and during the Biden administration. That's the reason that prices are bad right now, is that jump in spending that the Biden administration put on steroids, and the money printing that came after that. $7 trillion added to our total amount of dollars that were out in the public. That needs to be drawn back, and pretty soon.
Truly unprecedented to watch what's happened over the course of the last few years, especially in regards to economics. Now, Jim, this Arctic frost is really getting very, very interesting for those inside and outside of the Beltway. And I think it's very clear now, from the Patriot Act to this moment of Arctic frost, really this government, as Senator Chuck Schumer once mentioned, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting you if they want to. We've seen the lawfare. It's been targeted towards Republicans and both Democrats of high profile who, in essence, buck the system or the so-called establishment. So you have Christopher Wray, a Trump appointee, who went after countless, I believe 9 Republican United States senators, other colleagues, and those involved in Republican politics. Will there be any consequence for their actions?
That seems to be coming about, but you are hearing calls from particularly James Comer and others on Capitol Hill saying, let's get moving on the indictments. Let's go. So that pressure is there. I do believe that Pam Bondi's willing to make those and get those indictments to happen. They've impaneled the grand jury in Florida, in Jupiter, Florida, can really make a huge difference in this and bring what is a conspiracy, a RICO-style conspiracy case against all the actors from all the way back into the Obama administration, all the way up to Obama himself. So those things need to happen very quickly. There are serious consequences coming down the line, I believe. I do have confidence that Kash Patel's getting the investigations in order that need to happen with that, as well as folks in the DOJ. If we can get this done, and Donald Trump continues on the path he's already staying on, which is he obeys court orders, even the outrageous ones that come against him, until he can get them appealed. And not just in the Supreme Court. Everyone says, oh, yeah, well, the Supreme Court's going crazy right now. These radical pro-Trump court is nuts and needs to be reined in. Well, no, it's appellate courts that are doing it too. And the rule of law is being established in his following those court orders and getting them appealed with huge wins. and these indictments that ought to come. The Arctic frost thing is very, very problematic. I mean, we need to absolutely take away certain tools through the Patriot Act and also the expansion of the FISA court. Those need to be rescinded now, because it gives future government actors the ability to go after American citizens, just as they did from Barack Obama's time on, really all the way back to the Bush administration that implemented the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act was meant to expire, by the way, too. It was always unconstitutional, always wrong. It was initially put in breaking constitutional bounds to try to quickly deal with terrorism. Well, probably had some positive effect in that regard, except for the negative effect of taking our liberties away. And then it has been renewed ever since. That needs to stop immediately. We need to stop the ability of the federal government to suborn our freedoms and put us into harm's way for merely political purposes. Those three things: the indictments that need to come, getting rid of the Patriot Act, and pulling FISA back even further than it is now, and then making sure that the court orders that come are abided by, except we're obviously wrong, and we have only had a handful of those, and that they are appealed appropriately, and that we keep the Supreme Court at 9 justices. Democrats want to change that as well, too. These 9 justices that are there, though, have, it's about the right mix so we can get back to the constitutional order. We have hope, but it's going to take a lot of work.
Do you think the High Court will listen to the E. Jean Carroll case, something that President Trump is encouraging them to do? And then in addition to that, we see the president who is now threatening to sue the BBC. It's really something nowadays to pay attention to, not only the introduction of AI technologies, but we can no longer really keep our heads in the sand as Americans, because there's still a lot of fake news stories out there.
There's no doubt about it. First, to the BBC thing. After all the lawfare and censorship that went against Donald Trump, that went outside the bounds of our legal system, Donald Trump needs to bring about his own lawsuits that should try to and are appropriately could remedy all the harm that was done to him by these outrageous news agencies that did just an incredibly bad job of trying to twist what he was. So I'm all for that lawsuit. But what was the other thing you mentioned there?
E. Jean Carroll with the
alleged E. Jean Carroll. I wonder if the Supreme Court's going to look at that. I mean, I would like for them to do that, not so much because of the story itself. It's a salacious story that I think we all know has to be false, based upon her testimony. But the fact that they twisted this into a court to make it seem like, like there was guilt on Donald Trump's part is a real problem. Now, keep in mind, the suit she won was a civil suit where the standards are much lower than the standard of guilt in a criminal case, beyond a reasonable doubt. That standard is much lower. So it makes it look like her story is real because the civil case was won. And I think it'd be great if there was some way for that civil case to be looked at by the Supreme Court. And it can go to the Supreme Court, but it's not very common they take up these civil cases of a personal nature. You don't see that very often. But it might be worthwhile having it looked at on the facts, and who knows? I don't think they're going to look at it. Let me just put it that way. But it would be interesting if they did. It might help correct a few errors that we need to correct badly in our judicial system.
Well, it frightens me as well. It's coming from a non-legal perspective, someone who's just a huge fan of all this. And of course, with our work, Jim, I think many of us have countless lawyer friends who have opinions on this one way or the other. But I worry about precedent. I worry about the fact that those aggressive people out there could say, oh, it was that person did that. And then this innocent individual then has to prove his innocence and is assumed guilty, something that is not what was in the practice of the foundation of our nation. In fact, it's almost as if 250 years later, we're fighting for those very same principles that you can find right there in the Bill of Rights. It's remarkable.
Without a doubt, actually, we are having almost exactly the same fight. Without a doubt. Every one of the liberties that were at stake for American citizens in the colonies leading up to the Revolutionary War, they're being violated almost every day in the same way that the British violated those rights when they were utilizing their military power and the situation, the colonial situation here on the continent at that time. They were being treated very poorly. Americans are being treated very poorly in this day and age. It's got to stop. We've got to try to reestablish that. It's going to take two things. We do need to work this out in the courts, in the political system, by exposing those who have done wrong of either their criminal or civilly liable behavior. We need to be going after those things. But the second thing we need to do is we need to change our minds in the culture. I mean, one of the things we do at the Conservative Caucus is try to help people understand what the origins of our founding were, what the Constitution actually means, and its significance. We need to talk to ourselves about this in a very serious way. And we do need to push back against Democrat politics, which is increasingly and broadly socialist and communist in its outlook. I've been talking for a long time about the fact that the Democrat Party is not an American party. In no way is the Democrat Party an American party. I'm not saying Democrat voters. I think most Democrat voters actually, even though I would disagree with them on what they stand for, they probably do want the Constitution, honestly, to be reasserted. But Democrat politicians in this day and age are not in the least American in their political ideals. And we need to oppose that on that basis. So it takes a lot of work. There's some short-term things we can do. In the long run, conservatives and people of goodwill on the right, they need to push back aggressively at the leftist politics that has caused us so much in the way of problems here.
Yes, I could not agree more. This is such a time for this, a time for choosing, and we are all here for it. Now, before we part ways, Jim, where can we find also the great work of Conservative Caucus? But I also like your take on what seems to be ever going and changing with the Epstein situation right now. I had the privilege of attending one of Megyn Kelly's shows over the weekend in Atlanta, Georgia, and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene there, who has signed on with the entire Democrat caucus, I think only for Republicans, to divulge more of what's been found by the Judiciary Committee. And there is alleged right now, according to that conversation, that Jeffrey Epstein had some very deep ties to the state of Israel. And some reporters actually writing in the Beltway that he could have been a power broker between Israel and Russia during the Syria crisis of the Obama years from 2013 to 2014. So it seems as if there's these layers with Jeffrey Epstein, from the trafficking to the power broking to actually, in some cases, perhaps being a peace broker. What do you think we'll find from all of this ultimately?
Boy, I wish I knew. I think first of all, there's so many emotions, rightly so, around all of this, that with a lack of information that has been hidden from people for so long, that it is hard to make complete sense of what all this means. What I think we do know is that the lascivious lifestyle of Jeffrey Epstein, the abuse and misuse of young women for the benefit of powerful people, they're crimes that are beyond what any of us can imagine. I mean, it's really disgusting, all that was going on. And these new revelations are interesting, but I haven't seen enough detail to be clear about this. But we've always somewhat suspected those connections to Mossad or international intelligence agencies. So maybe that's there. And that would be important as far as it goes. So that needs to be revealed. But it's been my contention for a long period of time, if we want to fix the deep state problem in the United States, I do not believe that the Epstein files and every bit of it being revealed is going to clean that up. I think it would be worthwhile having, and I want transparency. But I don't think that's going to be the thing that's going to fix it. What is going to fix it are the indictments that ought to be coming to main leaders in the Obama administration and the Biden administration who sought to take down Donald Trump all of their surrogates within the federal service who were participating in this. And there need to be serious criminal consequences brought against these people. This needs to be treated like a criminal conspiracy, and it needs to be aggressively done so and effectively done so with an end result that people go to jail. That is going to be the best security for us as a nation, I believe, in the future. The release of Epstein files will help enhance that. And I think it's going to be worthwhile finding out what these problems are and what Epstein did. It sounds like with these recent revelations, it's a combination of bad and maybe good. Maybe he did broker a peace deal in the Syria-Russia situation. I think people are going to be surprised on the downside of what they expect with the release of the Epstein files, although they'll be much salacious and problematic and maybe even criminal there. But it's nowhere near the problem that we have with guys like James Clapper, James Brennan, John Brennan, James Comey, and others who probably have no connection to the Epstein files at all, but are key actors in attempting to take down our nation. That's what I'm looking to happen. You're going to get Epstein file people along the lines of this RICO case that the Justice Department is pursuing. So that's kind of the top level thing, and the Epstein files is secondary and maybe helpful. So yeah, get them released. I'd like to see that release, but let's remember, or let's consider what I believe to be the case, that the aggressive action needs to go well beyond whatever we see in the Epstein files, because the real bad actors probably never were having illicit affairs with little girls. And those are the people that I think we need to be most concerned about, and make sure go to jail and or never have an opportunity to be involved in government again.
No question. If they're willing to do that, what else are they willing to do against the liberties and the will of the American people, ultimately? Jim Paff, president of the Conservative Caucus, thank you for diving into such a plethora of issues on this Veterans Day week, as we are so grateful and blessed to be in a nation still seeking God and still seeking and recognizing that the people who provided that freedom of speech, it's the American soldier. So we're always happy to have you on, Jim, to dive deep into these crucial issues.
Thanks. And we do believe in the divine origin of rights that come straight from God. And if people would like to find out more about us, go to theconservativecaucus.com.
An amazing institution. Thank you so much, Jim. We'll see you very soon on the right side of history.
Thank you, sir.
Sam Altman just revealed on ChatGPT it can get to know you over your entire life. How do you feel about that? We're talking about the former director of the NSA sitting on a board right now that can dive back into conversations. Do you feel comfortable knowing an AI platform can know your thoughts, dreams, sensitive questions, business ideas? What are they doing about that? Well, there's Venice.ai, a solution that you can find at venice.ai/RSBN, one of our newest sponsors, with 20% off code right now, RSBN. Very easy to remember. This utilizes leading open source AI models to deliver text, code, and image generation to your web browser. No downloads, no installations or anything, but private and permissionless. They don't spy on you or censor the AI. Messages are encrypted on your conversation history, and it's stored only in your browser. Now, AI can be extremely valuable and helpful, but as we are on this new horizon with Grok 4 and other technologies, we should not give up our privacy to use it. As Benjamin Franklin once said, those who would temporarily give up their liberties in the pursuit of security deserve neither nor both. Now, this has the ability to turn off a safe mode or turn on a safe mode for unhindered image generation, the ability to change how Venice interacts with you by modifying system prompt, limitless text, and image limits as well as that. So encourage your views to click without being feared of being monitored as well. Create the sense of urgency because it's right at our door here with AI. Venice.ai/RSBN, our newest sponsor here on the right side of history. 20% off with code RSBN. Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN, the early Black Friday special with the children's Bible story pillows. Look at all those, a 5-pack for under $30, $29.98 with the master marketer, Mike Lindell, a dear friend of ours. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Again, the promo code RSBN, easy to remember, 800-836-7566. Call today, do not delay. With over 2,000 products at MyPillow.com/RSBN, it can guarantee a restful night's sleep, and your little loved ones can rest in the peace knowing that the Lord is there for them as they learn these biblical stories that endure all these years later and are relevant to us in 2025. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Thank you to Mike Lindell, a dear friend of ours. And if you'd like to donate to this legacy media item that is changing the ball game, we are your go-to live desk and your rally network. Support us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, rsbnetwork.com/donate, or text RSBN to 801-801. We have an address for money orders and checks. 1550, that's 1550, Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, in the loveliest village on the plains. It's Auburn, Alabama, 36830. 1550, Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Thank you for supporting us on the right side of history. Let's go through somewhat of a recap from yesterday and the fact that this lasting impact of a 43-day Democrat shutdown, according to the superstar Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt right there at the White House, stating missed paychecks, over $10 billion in wages and benefits withheld, millions of low-income families lost access to SNAP, widespread flight disruptions, billions erased from the economy. In fact, 1.5 trillion, as they're reporting right now, but we may not know for weeks, the number of contracts that were canceled and the public and private partnerships affected by this Democrat temper tantrum from Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Speaker Mike Johnson stating last night, there's a split screen in America right now. On one side, President Trump and Republicans are securing the border, cutting taxes, unleashing American energy, restoring law and order, and protecting the safety net for those who truly need it. On the other hand, Democrats, whose only accomplishment in 10 months has been shutting down the government, the difference could not be clearer. And again, Caroline Leavitt stating before President Trump signing H.R. 5371 into law to reopen the government late last night, we've had the biggest middle-class tax cuts, no tax on tips, overtime or Social Security, U.S. energy unleashed. Once again, gas prices dropping, the deregulation cuts of energy, as well as those costs going down, drug prices being slashed, and regulation cuts helping small businesses. And breaking just yesterday, Representative Tim Burchett of the volunteer state of Tennessee, stating his push to bring the Epstein files right straight to the House floor, stating, I made the motion, they blocked it, being the Democrats. If there was something on Trump, they would have released it, as they've had these emails going back 4 years or more. So we'll watch as all this continues to remain in the news, but another seemingly nothing burger against the president of the United States is Russia, 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 the hoax all over again. But all of us of goodwill want to get to the bottom of who was this Jeffrey Epstein, and we'll continue to ask those questions as we did with the great Jim Paff, president of the Conservative Caucus. We have some playback for you from last night. In case you missed it, President Donald Trump signing H.R. 5371 right there in the Oval Office, surrounded by House Republican leadership and the Speaker of the House after his press gaggle from Statutory Hall. If the president comes out a bit early with the First Lady, we'll go right there to you. Stand by for a 2 o'clock signing of an executive order, but we want you to catch all of the action, especially from last night, President Trump ending the government shutdown.
Well, thank you very much. This is a big day tonight. Very important what is taking place, because we see how good government can be and how bad government can be. People don't know what they're doing. For the past 43 days, Democrats in Congress shut down the government of the United States in an attempt to extort American taxpayers for hundreds of billions of dollars for illegal aliens and people that came into our country illegally. from gangs, from prisons, from mental institutions. They wanted to pay them $1.5 trillion, which would have really hurt our healthcare businesses and our recipients at levels never seen before. Today, we're sending a clear message that we will never give in to extortion, because that's what it was. They tried to extort. The Democrats tried to extort our country. In just a moment, I'll sign a bill exactly like we asked Democrats to send us all along, many days ago. This cost the country $1.5 trillion, this little excursion that they took us on. Republicans never wanted a shutdown and voted 15 times for a clean continuation of funding. There's never been a time when one or the other party ever didn't sign a continuation. It's just a continuation, not a big deal. It's a continuation, and we'll talk later. Yet the extremists in the other party insisted on creating the longest government shutdown in American history, and they did it purely for political reasons. I want to thank Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, as well as House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, and numerous other great Republican leaders and congressmen and senators who are here and who frankly spent a long time in Washington getting this thing to go away. I also want to thank the broad coalition of Americans that stood with us in this fight to reopen government, including the Teamsters, the American Federation of Government Employees, the Fraternal Order of Police, AMVETS, the National Small Business Association, the American Farm Bureau, the American Trucking Association. These are all incredible patriots. The Airlines for America, the Allied Pilots Association, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, and many others, unions and non-unions. Over the past 7 weeks, the Democrats' shutdown has inflicted massive harm. They caused 20,000 flights to be canceled or delayed. They departed so many times, so late. People were hurt so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything like this one. This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid, and the total effect of the damage their antics caused will take weeks and probably months to really calculate accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country. I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again. If we had the filibuster terminated, this would never happen again. And don't forget, we have another date coming up in the not too distant future. We can never let this happen again. And we should be able to pass great, really great legislation. So I say terminate the filibuster because, by the way, the Democrats will do it immediately if they ever assumed office, which hopefully they won't. Today we had the highest stock market price ever in all of the different markets. We set a record. It's the 48th time in the 9 months that I've been in office that we had this record set. So think of that, 48 times we had a record set, but today is the highest of them all. We're going to break new grounds. Nobody would have thought. I have with us not only the great political leaders, but the great business leaders of our country. They're standing right behind me and right really alongside of me. And if we would have told them a year ago that we'd be having stock prices this high, none of them, in fact, I just asked them that question, none of them would have believed it. And that inures to jobs and, very importantly, to 401ks, which have also set a record today, a record high for the people that have 401ks. And also, I want to thank Walmart because they came up with a fantastic study. It was the cost of Thanksgiving coming up and the cost of Thanksgiving from a year ago under Sleepy Joe Biden. And we're 25% lower this year than we were a year ago. And it's a very inclusive report. So I want to thank Walmart. They've done it for many years, but we believe in that, and we believe in that company. I want to also thank the 8 Senate Democrats who finally did the right thing in voting to end this craziness, this madness. But unfortunately, the vast majority of congressional Democrats were happy for millions of Americans to suffer. They really did suffer, too. And the Democrats admitted, they said, well, no, we finally have a point. Even though people have to suffer, we finally have a point. And that didn't work out too well for them. But they really went out and they could appease the fringe benefits of their far-left base, but that didn't work out because now their far-left base is angrier than ever before. We actually elected a mayor of New York City who happens to be a communist. When was that going to happen? Remember, I said all the time during my campaign, we will never be a socialist country, and that's right. We turned out to have a communist in New York City, and if you look at his views, those are the views of a communist, not a socialist. So this is no way to run a country. I hope we can all agree that the government should never be shut down again, end the filibuster, terminate the filibuster. It'll never happen again. So with my signature, the federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again for all Americans. Again, costs are way down. Energy is way down. Gasoline is at $2.50 a gallon versus $4.70 for the Democrats. And we think we're going to hit pretty close to $2 a gallon. That's like a really massive tax cut. It's the equivalent of that. And speaking of tax cuts, our great, big, beautiful bill is giving everybody in our economy, middle income workers, low income, everybody, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And it's no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and very importantly, no tax on overtime. You work overtime, there's no tax. That's among the things that add up to the biggest tax cut in history. And one other thing, you hear about rich people with deductions. Well, when you buy your car and you borrow money, you're allowed to now deduct the interest on that loan. So you can take that interest deduction and what you can take is that interest payment and deduct it for income tax purposes. That's a tremendous tax cut right there. But it all includes fixing the healthcare system that Democrats broke with the disaster known as Obamacare. Obamacare was a disaster from day one. It's done nothing but go up. And if you remember President Barack Hussein Obama, when he came up with this crazy idea, he said everything's going to be great. Rates are going to go down. Payments are going to go down. Everything's going to go down. It went the exact opposite with the biggest increase of healthcare in any country. It's a disaster. And I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the money, this massive amount of money, to be paid directly to the people of our country so that they can buy their own health care, which will be far better and far less expensive than the disaster known as Obamacare. And I've had, I think, great support. I've even had Democrat support. So we want the money that would be going to the insurance company, which is hundreds of billions of dollars. Their stock prices have gone up by 1,000% in many cases, 1,000% over a short period of time, because our country stupidly pays them so much money with this Obamacare scandal. So I want the money to go directly to you, the people. And you go out and you'll buy your own health insurance and you'll negotiate different plans and you'll get much better insurance, and you will be an entrepreneur for yourself. So I'm always willing to work with anyone, including the other party. We'll work on something having to do with health care. We can do a lot better. We can do great. So much money is involved, and we're willing to pay so much money to the people. So we're going to pay a lot of money to the people. They're going to go out and buy their own health care, and we're going to forget this Obamacare madness. So with all of that, I just want to tell you the country has never been in better shape. We went through this short-term disaster with the Democrats because they thought it would be good politically. And it's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you very much.
Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for 10% off of the fall and cold flu season. These medications, 300 in fact, can help save you. Antivirals, antibacterials, also emergency medical kits. Don't let a cold ruin the holidays for you as we prepare for Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, and Christmas. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, committed to you. No red tape, no bureaucracy. No insurance, that's okay. They want you to have life-saving meds and the right to try with these generics that are more cost-effective. And some big pharmacies just do not have things like ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, and methylene blue right there for you. But allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN does. So scan that QR code there, 10% off now with code RSBN10. You can also go to Monetary Gold, Wealth Security Preservation. Call today. Do not delay. It's 888-617-7994. Grab your complimentary presidential gold guide and ask how you can eliminate that IRA fee permanently for life. RSBN4thegold.com. We know that banks have failed. We know that paper money with a weak dollar and the inflation experienced over the last 4 years have helped gold and silver skyrocket in a bull market. Grab your complimentary gold guide today and see how the experts over at Monetary Gold can assist you in this process to make yourself wealthy and diversify, whether it's generational wealth to buying that first or second property. Monetary Gold is the best in the business, and they are ready to assist you there at rsbnforthegold.com. Again, 888-617-7994 for all of those details. Monetary Gold, the best in the business. Thank you as well for being with us here today on Right Side Broadcasting Network for afternoon coverage of the President of the United States and the First Lady, Melania Trump, with some of our closest friends in the movement there in the East Room and right outside of where is the main foyer, outside the Blue Room, and the portrait of the 39th President, Jimmy Carter, looking on as this executive order signing will take place momentarily in the East Room. This is a historic moment as the longest government shutdown in American history coming to an end at day 43 just yesterday, and even more historic given the fact that Republicans in the legislature did not back down. In the House of Representatives specifically, moving swiftly every day, they were working overtime in order to make this happen. And they did their due diligence. They put forth a continuing resolution to last 7 weeks to fund the government so they could come to debate and dialogue on those crucial issues. But Democrats, it's a two-pronged issue. Senator Chuck Schumer worried about losing re-election in 2028 to AOC and that progressive base that was successful in electing Zoran Mamdani, the communist, as the new New York City mayor. He's taking office on January 1st of 2026. And crazy Bernie Sanders stating that the mission is now a 50-state agenda, as many commentators in the America First movement and who are MAGA, whether they be legacy or new media, have called for the exact same, a 50-state solution, because it's these very issues in this administration, what they are working on, especially having a laser focus now on affordability, on reforming healthcare. The Democrats destroyed Obamacare, but they wanted to remove $50 billion in the funding from the One Big Beautiful Bill and the continuing resolution to fund rural hospitals. And then to make up another story that in some way, shape, or form, the Republican Party could care less about those specific hospitals throughout the country. They also wanted to fund illegal alien health care in the form of Medicaid, Medicare, and those who are not putting anything back into the system. Now, it is a broken immigration system. There's no question about that. But stronger measures had to happen as a result of a complete open border. And that was to remove those who are here illegally, especially with a focus on those who have committed violent crime during their time in America, and those who have been released by countless attorneys general and DAs who did not do their job, who ran on quote unquote get Trump. That led to an unprecedented 94 indictments, and this president vindicated after a Russia hoax. And now we have Arctic frost is all part of this, where 9 GOP senators and colleagues, hundreds of those on the right side of history, being monitored over the course of the last several years, especially during the AutoPen. And this all being launched in April of 2022 by the former FBI director, Christopher Wray. So some important stories that we are keeping our attention and eyes on, as we'll soon see President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump participating in an executive order signing. And we wave right back to those who are in the East Room right now, waiting to see the first couple, as it's always an exciting moment to be invited to a signing ceremony and to see President Trump in action, as many of our friends in the movement are right there in the East Room, some personal friends of President Trump for countless years, and those who are committed to saving this country. And as we go into 2026, there's no question that the midterms will be crucial. They want, as exposed by Election Day, Governor Gavin Newsom stating as he seeks the 2028 Democrat nomination, they want a Speaker Hakeem Jeffries. They want to usurp the authority of the President of the United States. They want to criminally charge these ICE and border agents and these federal, local, and state officials who have worked in conjunction between departments, whether it's Attorney General Pam Bondi to Secretary of Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem and FBI Director Kash Patel and Border Czar Tom Homan, to secure the American homeland on both of our borders. Because during the last administration, foreign terrorist organizations like MS-13 and border cartels and Tren de Aragua made all their way up north of the border in order to traffic fentanyl and drugs. It's not a Republican talking point, but rather something that did happen. So as that is all coming to an end now with a secure border with a wall, and with those who will receive a stipend if they continue to deport willingly and then have that opportunity to come back into the country, numbers going down in major cities. We've seen a 16% reduction in homicides in Chicago, Illinois, as a result of Operation Midway Blitz. Another operation down in the free Sunshine State of Florida, bringing 150 illegal alien criminals to justice via the Department of Homeland Security, who are accused of violent crimes, including rape and many forms of trafficking, from labor to sex trafficking. And these people with rap sheets that really are longer than your grocery list and your laundry list combined. It's been sad moments for the American people over the course of the last few years, especially after the past administration that turned either a blind eye to it or had individuals who may have been responsible on the inside. In fact, Secretary Kennedy said months ago that there is evidence that trafficking was done and provided by Health and Human Services, which is shocking to think about, given that 300,000 children were lost under the last administration. It's a staggering number, and many of whom who have been found and brought back into the light, who have, I'm sure, needed rehab and additional help to come back into the United States of America to have a normal life. And it's really where we saw government fail us on a grand scale, and this is completely being reversed now in 2025. Now it sounds as if they're standing, and that's the President of the United States and First Lady Melania Trump, live from the East Wing of the White House.
And First Lady Melania Trump.
Good afternoon. Please. Welcome to the White House. It is truly inspiring to see everyone gather here together, united in support of this remarkable initiative and community. As I stand here and observe the audience, I recognize the vital importance of each one of you to this mission, to our future generations. In particular, I would like to thank the Cabinet Secretaries, Congress members, scholarship donors, and various organizations for their unending advocacy. A special thank you to my husband for his enduring commitment to fostering the future. The President has prioritized America's foster care children, and shortly he will sign our Fostering the Future Executive Order. Too many people from foster care community end up homeless, in danger on America's streets. It was 2021 when I developed the idea to establish an impactful platform with an important mission to provide individuals from the foster care community the ability to secure an entry-level job position and, in turn, financial independence. Fostering the Future, a Be Best initiative, provides individuals from the foster care community with technology-based scholarships to attend colleges and universities throughout America. Fostering the Future sets these individuals on their career paths, but more significantly, it equips each scholarship recipient with a fundamental foundation of knowledge that will endure throughout their lifetimes. Permanency for those who embody the fleeting. I applaud the American universities that have joined my mission, institutions like Vanderbilt University, University of Miami, and Villanova University. Following graduation, scholarship recipients from my program are prepared to enter the workforce and ultimately become leading executives. Predictably, they will manage thousands of employees and generate significant value for American communities through job creation, access to health care, food security, and other societal benefits. This executive order, Fostering the Future for American Children and Families, gives me tremendous pride. It is both empathetic and strategic. It will certainly be impactful. It aims to establish a comprehensive network connecting federal departments and agencies, private sector's businesses, higher learning institutions, and charitable organizations. This will create new educational and employment opportunities countrywide. Our faith-based organizations will continue playing a vital and consequential role. My hope, of course, is that this level of coordinated collaboration will sustain. But today, I call on leadership from these various organizations, including the private sector, to join my effort, rise above the ease of inaction. I predict this small spark today will ignite a profound and lasting nationwide movement. Our united resolve will foster a thriving future filled with compassion and innovation. Together, we will illuminate the pathway for today's foster children to become tomorrow's builders. And tomorrow's builders will foster the future of America's legacy. Thank you. It It is my pleasure to introduce my husband, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
I think it's very good, especially for someone that speaks 5 languages at least. I think that's pretty amazing. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Yes, well, thank you, Melania. And our country is truly blessed to have this magnificent and very caring First Lady. They love her. Every time I get up and make a speech, they say, "We want our First Lady." I said, "What the hell? I'm not good enough? I'm not..." But thank you very much. Great job. And it's great the work you do in so many ways. This afternoon, I'm delighted to sign a historic executive order building on the Fostering the Future initiative to make America's foster care system better, fairer, and more effective than ever before. And it's been effective, but it's moving in a very strong direction. All of this has been made possible by Melania's incredible devotion to America's youth. Spends a lot of time on it and loves it, and along with our great Usha, you spend so much time, and what a combination. First Lady, Second Lady, what a combination. Thank you. They do a great job, the two of them. They're amazing women. I want to thank Vice President J.D. Vance and Usha. Thank you very much. Vice President, stand up, Vice President. And he did a big thing today. He's going to be on television tonight with the legendary Sean Hannity, so everybody has to watch. I'm sure CNN loves this advertisement, but he will be. I heard it was a great interview. And Secretary Scott Bessent. Scott, thank you very much. An extremely non-controversial Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But he's right. And Scott Turner, thank you very much. Doing a great job at HELP. And thanks as well to Senator John Husted and Representatives Jason Smith, Darren LaHood, Zach Nunn, and David Schweikert. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, fellas. Great group. We're also joined by countless distinguished leaders in the child welfare, advocacy, ministry, and charitable foundations, as well as so many wonderful young people who have experienced foster care and used their voices to champion needed reforms. And I want to thank everybody for being here. It's an amazing day at the White House. Thank you very much. And right behind me, by the way, in about 2 years from now, we'll use a much bigger room because we had to turn away a lot of people. And it'll be right here. This will be the entrance. That's a knockout paddle. It's called a knockout. It looks pretty nice right now, but it's going to look a lot better in a little while. And we're going to go from this room into a room that seats a few more people, and it's going to be beautiful. But I just noticed I happen to be standing here, Peter, and I thought I might as well get you a shot right now. A nice, beautiful shot at the future entrance to something that's really become very popular, the ballroom. They've wanted it for 150 years, and they're getting it, and they're getting the best. It'll be the best anywhere in the world. Each year, more than 15,000 young people age out of the foster care system, and unfortunately, too many struggle to become self-sufficient. The order I will sign in a few moments will provide vital new resources to help young people transition out of the foster care system and live a very happy and a very successful life. Very, very successful. With this order, I'm directing the heads of the key federal departments and agencies to establish a Fostering the Future program in coordination with our wonderful First Lady's office. They're coordinating, and they've already been coordinating for quite some time, and I think I hear it's going really well. You're going to have some, when she gets involved in things, it works, I can tell you that. Under this major new initiative, great American companies and institutions will be signing a pledge to invest in teaching, training, and mentoring America's youth who are transitioning out of the foster care system. This will help provide jobs, education, and personal development opportunities to fantastic young people who truly need and deserve them, and they're going to get them. A terrific example of the impact these programs can have is Eric Alvarez from Omaha, Nebraska, who is with us today. Where's Eric? Where is he? Stand up. Good-looking guy. Good-looking guy. Eric and his siblings were placed in foster care for a year when he was 9. He entered the child welfare system again when he was 15, and today he credits a mentoring and mentorship and work experience program for foster youth with helping him to finish high school and start his adult life. And he did really well in high school, by the way, really a great student. But he starts life on the right foot, right? Wouldn't you say? I mean, I think you better say yes, otherwise I'm in big trouble. Otherwise, I'm all by myself up here, Eric. That would be. I hear you're doing incredibly. Now, after graduating from the University of Nebraska and interning for Congressman Don Bacon, Eric is pursuing a master's degree at the George Washington University, and he is a cadet in the Air Force ROTC who will be commissioned as an officer upon graduation. And Eric, I just want to say, great job. You've really been outstanding, and I think that's probably why you were chosen out of so many people. You've done a fantastic job. Congratulations. The new initiative we're establishing will also create an opportunity for foster youth to take full responsibility of the federal tax credit scholarship program established by the One Big Beautiful Bill. So many things, tax cuts and regulation cuts, so many things. The biggest ever passed in the history of our country. I call it the Great Big Beautiful Bill. I changed the name a little bit to make it even more sublime. But it is, there's so many things in there for everybody. We had a choice. We could have done it in 9 different bills or try for the one, and everybody said, no, let's do it in 9. It'll be easier. Actually, it wouldn't have gotten done. And J.D. and I and Scott and all of us got together and we said, let's give it a shot. And we got it passed. And it was an amazing thing, but it's going to help a lot of people. There's never been anything like it. As in one bill, there's never been anything close. And when you see what's going on with the Democrats, we're lucky we got it passed because we don't have to do anything. All we have to do is implement it now. And we'll be implementing it all over the place. If you think about it, no tax on tips, right? No tax on Social Security, all of the different things, no tax on overtime. You get deductions if you buy a car. You take an interest rate deduction, an interest deduction against your income tax. It's never happened. Nothing like this has really ever been approved to this extent. And so it is one great, big, beautiful bill. But using the tax credit will expand occupational training, education, and financial literacy programs for the foster youth and make it possible for more of them to attend the school of their choice. Choice is a great word for a lot of reasons, but it's a great thing with education. And we'll also create the new Fostering the Future online platform to help young people find the access and really get great housing, very, very important and beautiful housing, health care, and other resources available to foster youth and those transitioning out of foster care. And we think it's going to happen with many, many people, many more than you have right now. Under the Trump administration, we believe that every American child deserves a safe and loving home, and we're determined to support the amazing families who help make that happen. And we have some of those families in the room today, and I just want to thank you all for being in the White House. There is no place like this, and we want to thank you very much for being here. Great families. Thank you very much. Faith-based, thank you. Faith-based nonprofits are the nation's most trusted institutions, interacting with the foster care system and practicing Christians and more. Think of this, more than twice as likely foster care. They'll adopt the general population. They adopt to it so easily. When they get out, they adopt to it just like it's becomes second nature. It's amazing. Yet radical left policies in states nationwide make it much harder, not easier, for those families to open up their homes. But we're working on that. We're dealing with the radical left. It's not easy, but we're winning, and we're winning big. That's why with the order that we're doing today, we're taking the ridiculous woke policies that discriminate against Christians and families of faith. As president, I will always stand by us. We will stand by our country, and we will stand for religious liberty. So important. We stand for religious liberty. The Bible tells us, thank you. Thank you. The Bible tells us that one of the measures of any society is how it cares for vulnerable children and orphans. So important, and it's so big in the Bible. So as we make America great again, we are going to protect American children in foster care, and we're going to ensure that they will never, ever be forgotten. These children will never be forgotten, and they're going to grow up to be unbelievable, strong, smart, wealthy, productive citizens. So once more, I want to thank Melania for the great job she does, not here only just as First Lady. She's a great First Lady. And I want to thank you very much, honey, and the foster families and leaders here today. You're very special people, and we're going to work together, and we're going to have some absolutely incredible results. Thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Change after. Should we sign it? Okay. Susie, do we sign this? That's the First Lady deciding this. Okay.
Always a joy to see the President and the First Lady, and especially a recurring guest here at RSBN, Mr. Bruce Lavelle, Georgia businessman and someone who puts God, family, and country first. And President Trump and Mr. Lavelle having a relationship in the business world going over now 30 plus, even 40 years. So great to see these people coming together in order to make America great again. Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN for the early Black Friday special, Children's Bible Story Pillow. My 5-pack right here at $29.98. That's $30 for 5 illustrious pillows detailing biblical stories that will inspire you and your kiddos as you make sure they get a good night's rest under the protection of our great Lord and Savior who loves this country so much as we continue into this 250-year existence in a golden era. MyPillow.com/RSBN, 800-836-7566. Call today. Do not delay. MyPillow.com/RSBN, 2,000 products to give you a good night's rest and a great morning. Right there with Mike Lindell out of Minnesota. Everything's made in America. Thank you to our dear friend all the way up north, Mr. Mike Lindell, the master marketer, as President Trump puts it. MyPillow.com/RSBN. You may donate to this new media outlet leading the way as your go-to live desk. RSBnetwork.com/donate. You can text RSBN to 801-801. If you'd like to send a check or money order as well, 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, the loveliest village on the plains. It's Auburn, Alabama, 36830. That's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. The Office of the First Lady announcing this executive order on fostering the future, detailing this via the Office of Communications just moments after President Trump and the First Lady signing that executive order. And this details a successful, organized executive order entitled Fostering the Future for America's Children, opening up new private and public partnerships. Under Mrs. Trump's leadership, this unprecedented presidential order unites federal resources with innovative public and private sector partnerships to provide more pathways to success for young people who have experienced foster care. The First Lady joined President Trump at today's historic signing at the White House, as you just saw, fostering a future pledge and future commitment with online resources and a planning hub, increased access to federal support, expanded educational opportunities. HHS will be involved, including the Department of Treasury and Housing and Urban Development. All the secretaries there as well, from Scott Besson to RFK Jr., Scott Turner, all doing phenomenal jobs. Also, the U.S. Office of Personnel Management involved in the process. The private sector organizations looking to join the First Lady in supporting fostering the future invited to sign a pledge at whitehouse.gov/fostering the future. Again, whitehouse.gov/fostering the future. It's an exciting time to reform this, and this all being led by the First Lady of the United States and her office. Get all America First updates and exclusive offers at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Let not your heart be troubled. Tonight, it's Thursday, The Voice of Reason at 6 o'clock. Be sure to tune in for another special episode on this Thursday evening. Until then, may God bless you and yours on this Thursday afternoon as we wrap up here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. For all of my colleagues, have a wonderful afternoon. And I'm Robert McNeely. We will see you on the right side of history. Until then, be good.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.